All right, so for this game, we have what is largely a sequencing game, in a sense. I mean, we have only 3 days to work with, but for each day, we do have to keep track of, I guess, 2 time slots, the morning and the afternoon. So we can set it up based on the sequence and essentially just add a second here to keep track of the morning versus the afternoon. So we can do something like AM and PM. Now, it's worth noting that we have 5 people only to work with, G, H, J, and then we have K and L, which means that there's, sorry, not 6, but rather 5 people to work with, which means that we're going to have a blank somewhere on the board, right? So there's going to be one position that's going to be kind of open. So that's just something to keep in mind. So from there, I guess let's take a look at the rules. So the first rule tells us that H and L must be in the mornings. So that's pretty good. We can say H and L have to be AM time slots. And it's worth noting, we only have 3 time slots, and they're going to take out 2 of those 3. So that's kind of powerful at the very least. Next, J has to be scheduled for the day before G. So essentially, we kind of have to have J is going to be kind of the day before G. Now, we don't exactly know the time slots, right? It could be at any point in time the day before, but we'll take this kind of line to symbolize that it's going to be somewhere the day before G. Next, at most one other client can be between G and K. So I guess we can say that between G and K, we can have a maximum of 1 person. And of course, we don't really know the direction that goes, right? So G and K can flip back and forth. It is worth noting, though, G is kind of a very heavy element here because, for one, we know that G definitely can't go on the Wednesday. And wherever you put the G, it starts doing damage with kind of the other elements, because if you put them on Thursday, for example, then we know J is going to be here. And if you put them in one of the morning slots, then it kind of locks out the H's and the L's, so that's powerful as well. And it might influence K depending on the situation. So this is probably the higher end of the number of possibilities I would bother with, but it might be worth exhausting the G. We have 4 possibilities to work with, and again, that's quite a few. But considering a number of those possibilities seem like they would be very influential, it seems like it might be worthwhile. So we'll set up 4 scenarios for G here. We can say G can go in Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, or Friday afternoon, and kind of see where this takes us. Now, as we said, whenever G is in the mornings, it locks out the other morning slots. So let's start with those. We can say the H's and the L's will have to go into the remaining 2 morning positions. Now, that further then restricts the J in those scenarios, because J has to always go the day before G. So J goes here for sure, and in this scenario, J goes there. Now, G and K can only have 1 space between them, which means in this scenario, I guess that suggests that the K can't really go here, since that's 2 spaces away. So K would have to go on Thursday afternoon. And in this the third scenario, K can't be in Wednesday afternoon because that's, definitely more than 1 spot away. So K is going to have to be on Friday afternoon. Now, in the other scenarios, let's take a look. So in this scenario, we know J is going to have to be obviously on the Wednesday, but it seems like he could still go on morning or the afternoon, right? Since both are still available. So I guess we can say J is going to be somewhere over here. We just don't quite know where. K is actually pretty flexible too, isn't he? Because K could arguably go really virtually anywhere except for, looks like, Wednesday morning and Friday afternoon. So that's a little bit more flexible too. And H and L obviously will take out the morning slot. So this is actually pretty open. Let's leave this for now. The last scenario, if G happens to be on the Friday, then again, J will have to go the day prior, but it could still be morning or afternoon. I guess the K can't wander too far away. K is going to have to be, I guess, in one of these 2 positions, either Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. But otherwise, that seems quite open, doesn't it? Because then H and L, as long as they're in the morning somewhere, we have flexibility. So you know what? Let's see what we can do with what we have. The questions themselves. So the first question is our exclusion question. Let's take a look. The first rule told us that H and L will have to both be in morning position, so we can go through the answers and disqualify anything that violates that. So A has them both in morning, B has just L in the morning, so we can get rid of answer choice B. Answer choice C has just H in the morning. That's actually pretty good. When you have a single rule that knocks off more than one answer, you might want to just double check and make sure that the rule was correctly interpreted. But yes, it does look like H and L being in the morning was correct. So B and C both get disqualified. D is still good and E is still good. Next, J is the day before G. So we have A, D, and E left to work with. Answer choice A has G on the first day on Wednesday, so that's certainly not going to work. Next, answer choice D has J the day before G, that's fine, and E does as well, because you'll notice that J effectively ends up being on Thursday, and G ends up being on Friday morning, so D and E are still viable. And lastly, G and K can only, what was the rule? At most one other client can be scheduled between G and K. Actually, wait a minute. Looks like I actually misinterpreted that rule. So sometimes this is actually why it's always a good idea to, when you're doing the exclusion question, go through the text rather than by your interpretations, just because you might pick up a disconnect. So you'll notice that this doesn't actually say that only one client can be, only one space can be between G and K. Rather, it specifically says only one client could be between G and K. I guess we can kind of clarify that this is maximum of one client over here. Now, the reason that's significant is because you could arguably have a client and an empty space and then a K in between the G and the K rather. So if you could have a client and an empty space between G and K, that's still only one client. So actually, let's take a look at our exhaustions again, just briefly. So in the first scenario, yeah, so here we go. So we locked the K on Thursday afternoon because we said we can't place the K on Friday afternoon, but we arguably could have placed the K on Friday afternoon because this would have been a blank. This would have been empty, and so it would just be H and L is the H or L is the only client between the G and the K. So strictly speaking, this is actually inaccurate. In this scenario, it could actually go either way in terms of the K and the blank that's going to go on either day. Just again to reinforce, if Thursday afternoon was a blank and we ended up with one of H or L on Friday morning and the K over here on Friday afternoon, that's still only one client in between the two. So it looks like, yeah, we can do a little bit, we have a bit more flexibility in this particular scenario. Now in the second scenario, we didn't actually lock the K, so we're fine. Now in the third scenario, we locked K over here, but that's viable because H and L would have had to be in the mornings and J would have had to be over here. So there's no way to put the K over there. We would have had at least two different people there. So K definitely had to go there. This is okay. And here we didn't lock the K, so we're still good. So it looks like the damage was minimal. This might have actually caused an error, but in this scenario, we had a little bit more flexibility. So anyways, we know that G and K can only have one client between them. So answer choice D. Now D, you'll notice, actually breaks that because we have K on Wednesday morning, and then we're going to have J and H, and then the G. So that certainly doesn't work, and that leaves us with answer choice E as the best answer to question number 18. Let's take a look. Number 19. So number 19 is a global question. We'll come back to that one momentarily. Let's take a look at number 20. So if there is a day on which K is the only client scheduled, so essentially, if there was a day that K is alone, well, let's look at our exhaustions. In the top scenario, that wouldn't work. K is always going to be no matter what with somebody. In the second scenario, maybe K could have gone alone on the Friday. Actually, maybe, especially he could have gone on Friday morning, in which case H and L would have. So that seems like it could have worked. Now, in this scenario, the third one, K would not be alone. And in the fourth scenario, for K to be alone, he would have had to be on the Wednesday, but that's way too far away from G. So it actually looks like the only way to have K be alone on a given day would be in this scenario. So let's kind of quickly play that out. So we can say we're going to have K with nobody on the Friday, and that would mean that G would have to go here. Now, I guess even if K is in the afternoon, there's still nobody else here. So H and L are actually going to lock out these two positions because they have to be mornings, and that leaves us with the J who's going to go on Wednesday afternoon. So the question itself now asks, what now could be true? Answer choice A, G is on Thursday morning, and no, G is currently in the afternoon. Next, could we have J on Thursday afternoon? Well, no, that's currently G. Next, can we have... Oh, whoops, I actually skipped an answer. Could we have answer choice B said H is on Thursday morning? And actually, yeah, that could be true, right? H and L could kind of flip between these two positions, so we could technically have had H on Thursday morning. Going through the rest of the answer choices, though, so C gives us that J is on Thursday afternoon, as we said. That wouldn't work. D, K is on Thursday afternoon. That wouldn't work because K is on Friday. And lastly, L is on Friday morning. That wouldn't work because Friday morning is either K or empty. So the best answer to question number 20 then is B. Next, question number 21 is global. We'll come back to that one momentarily. Let's take a look at 22 first. So number 22, if L is scheduled for Friday, well, if L is on Friday, arguably we have a few possibilities. So that could work in this scenario. That arguably could work in this scenario because we could have had L in the morning. We definitely know that L's in the morning, so this wouldn't work because, well, G is there. And this scenario still actually also could be viable. We could have put it in L here. So it looks like we have a lot of flexibility for that. But I guess let's keep that in mind. In this scenario, we're pretty much, for this question, we're potentially looking at scenarios A, B, and D, the first, the second, and the fourth one. So actually, let's just kind of mark we're here, here, or there. So the question itself, maybe we can resolve this as is, asks, which of the following pairs cannot be together? Well, let's take a look. Could G and K be together? Well, that would be pretty easy in this scenario, right? Because here L could have gone on Friday morning and G and K would have been together. So that seems to disqualify answer choice A. Next, H and G. Could H and G be together? Well, in this scenario, if we have an L over here, H and G potentially could have been together on the Thursday. And as long as K is, we could have put K here and it's only one space away from G. That seems very plausible. So B seems like it very much could be true. Answer choice C, J and K, could they be together? Well, in the first scenario, J and K definitely wouldn't be together. But actually, the exact same thing that we just said, if L is on Friday morning, per the question, the J and the K could have been together on Wednesday, specifically with the K on the afternoon. And then the H would have gone on the Thursday morning. So that seems very much plausible. So answer choice C we can get rid of. Answer choice D, K and H, could they be together? Well, if L is on Friday morning, I guess in this scenario that wouldn't work because either K is going to be with L or it's going to be with G. Now, here that also wouldn't work because if L is over here, then there's always either a G or a J on every day. You're never going to have an empty day to fit K and H into. So in this scenario, K and H couldn't be together because they could only be together on the Wednesday, but that's way too far away from the K for the K and the G, right? They'd be a full day apart. That wouldn't work, which means, arguably speaking, answer choice D is a viable answer. Let's just kind of recap that. K and H, for them to be together, in the first scenario, it wouldn't work because the question is if L is on Friday morning, so K is going to be either with L or with G. In the second scenario, if L is on Friday morning, again, there's no day where we could fit K and H together because there's either an L here, a G here, or a J somewhere on the Wednesday. This scenario is out of the question. And in this scenario, if L is on Friday morning, the only place that K and H would have been able to go together is here, and the K would then be too far away from the G. So the best answer to question number 22 then is D. These are a pair that cannot be together right now. Next, question 23 again is local, which says if H and K are together, well, let's take a look. If H and K happen to be together, that could work in here where H goes on the Friday morning and K goes in the afternoon. It could actually happen to work in here as well. Same deal, right? H goes here and K goes there. That seems viable. Here, K is with a G, so that's not going to work. And here also, it's not going to work because H and K being together would leave K too far away from the G. So if H and K are together, it looks like it could only work in this scenario or in this scenario. And in both of them, it would be H on Friday morning and K in the afternoon. Let's see what we can do. The question asks, which of the following now could be true? A, G is on Friday morning. Well, no, in both of these scenarios, G is actually on Thursday, so A is out. Next, H is on Wednesday morning. Could we have H go on Wednesday morning? Well, no, if H and K are together, they're together on Friday, so H certainly would not go on the Wednesday. Next, J is on Wednesday morning. And actually, maybe. So we said the second scenario works. So if we have an HK over here, then J could have gone on Wednesday morning, and then L would have just gone over here. So C seemingly is viable. Let's take a look at the other ones. D, K is on Thursday afternoon. Well, no, HK being together means that they're on Friday, we said. And L is on Friday morning. No, because H and K will have to be on the Friday. So the best answer to question 23 is C. Next, lastly, well, not lastly, we still have the globals, numbers 19 and 21. So 19 says, K cannot be scheduled for when? Well, let's take a look. A, Wednesday morning. Actually, that seems pretty good because in the first scenario, I mean, that's taken care of. In the second scenario, Wednesday morning would be way too far away because J would have to be over here, and then H and L would have taken Thursday, Friday, so you would have ended up with 2 people between the G and the K. And then for the last 2 scenarios, it's really out of the question because for K to go Wednesday morning, that's way too far away from the G. So that's your answer. Best answer to question number 19 is A. Lastly, number 21, which of the following must be false? So what cannot possibly happen? Let's take a look. A, H is the only client for Wednesday. Could H ever be alone on the Wednesday? Well, in this scenario, this actually looks plausible because we could have had H here and then everybody else is on the other days. So that seems like it could be true. Next, G is the only client for Thursday. Could we have G alone on the Thursday? And in this scenario, looks like we could have had, we said K over here and this could have been your blank. In fact, even in this scenario, if G goes here and there's nobody on Thursday morning, then H and L will go on Wednesday and Friday. And then you could have, for example, K over here on Wednesday. No, never mind. This would be J. But you could have K over here on Friday afternoon. That would still work. So it looks like answer choice B could have been true. So that doesn't quite have to be false. Answer choice C. H is the only person on Thursday. Could we have H alone on the Thursday? And actually, no. So here that doesn't work. Here that doesn't work because, again, there's a G here, there's a G here. Here there's already a J, and here there's already a J, which means that Thursday is always going to have at least one other person there. So there it is. H can never be alone on the Thursday. Best answer choice here is answer choice C.